Hey there, I'm still Michael Paulson, and I'm back with Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss, who are the writers of a new musical called Six. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi.
The last time I saw you guys, it was about to be opening night for Six on Broadway. In fact, you had the closest brush with opening of probably any show in Broadway history. You were 90 minutes away. Tell me a little about that day and that night.
I was in Zara, the popular high street retail shop, and I just bought 2 tops that I couldn't choose between for the opening night party. And the second I bought them, I got a text from our agents with like an article being like, "Is this including Six?" And it was the Playboy thing being like, "Theatre's going dark," and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna keep the tops anyway, because they're nice tops," and I've been wearing them ever since.
They're nice.
So let's back all the way up for people who don't know what Six is. What is Six about? Tell us about Six.
Six is a pop concert musical where a girl band perform a pop concert, but that girl band just happened to be the 6 wives of Henry VIII. So yeah, and they basically have a competition throughout the show to see which one of them is going to be like the leading lady of the group, the Beyonce of the group. And they decide that the criteria for who gets to be the winner is whoever had the worst time at the hands of Henry VIII gets to be crowned the leading lady.
And Toby, where did this idea come from?
The show came from the university that we were at the time, wanting to take an original musical to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And so that was like the impetus to write something. And the actual like show concept itself came from the kind of show that I knew I wanted it to be, which was having pop music in it, 'cause it's like, you know, the best kind of music. Having something that played around with like the form a bit and used music in like a way that wasn't song scene. Having a famous subject matter, and finally to have a show that had an all-female or majoritively female and non-binary cast.
Tell me about the relationship between the characters and pop stars. I know initially you looked to pop music for inspiration or for ideas about how these characters might move and sing.
Yeah, well, so basically because of the pop concert structure and because of the fact that it kind of had to be concise in an hour, we basically looked at the parts of the historical narrative and the parts of each individual queen's lives that we wanted to talk about in order to make a kind of point about like gender in the modern day or like women's experiences today. So we kind of like picked out the bits of their story or the kind of like themes of their stories that we wanted to tell, and then that kind of led to the like genre or the subgenre of pop that we wanted to use, and therefore the kind of like inspiration.
We also wanted to infuse that with little like Tudor references as well. So a classic example is like the opening number, Ex-Wives, where we wanted it to sound like a Calvin Harris, or like, who are the other kind of DJs, Lucy? Like Calvin Harris.
Like Avicii, like a big like
Avicii,
Swedish
yeah.
house mafia drop.
Yeah. So the drop is like a synth with a bit of harpsichord in it, but that is like doing the melody of Greensleeves, but in like a 4 to the floor kind of bang away.
So can you talk about what it meant to come to Broadway? By the time you had a Broadway production, it had already run in the West End and had toured in the UK, and it was being performed in various other places, including several cities in the US. What was the significance of Broadway for you guys?
Like we made like hundreds of jokes like back when, you know, we were first being like introduced to producers, and we were like, oh yeah, well when it's on Broadway we'll do this, and then we'd like laugh hysterically. And,
yeah.
It felt so out of reach. It wasn't even a goal. It was just like a complete like fantasy. And then it sort of like was happening. We were like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And then we were in like the Brooks Atkinson where Waitress was. So it was like an actual musical, and like it's like an actual theatre, and there were like dressing rooms and like stage managers and like people running the props department and all that kind of stuff. We were like, wow!
Six was becoming a big empire, and it all comes tumbling down. What does that feel like?
Honestly, the honest answer is that like it felt like it all appeared out of thin air, and that we didn't deserve a second of it, and all that, you know, like you have the biggest imposter syndrome and the biggest kind of like constant thing of being like, this is just a dream that I'm going to wake up from one day and have to get a real job.
How many productions were they running, Lucy?
6, I believe.
Oh. There were 6 productions running around the world in like different countries, different cities, some on like cruise ships, and like it's not just like the performers that were working on those, it was all the people at the theatres, it was all the people at the offices, like hundreds of people working because of this show that was running. And suddenly when that stops, that means like all those people aren't going to work and can't go to work and can't get paid to do their job because the theatres are all closed and the show's closed. And so even though it's had like an impact on us, the impact is so much more severe for all the people. And it's obviously not just Six, like all the people working in the theatre industry, because the shows have closed, it's impacting like every single person that works for a theatre or works on a show or is in a show or works behind the scenes at a show, which is like a devastating thing to think about.
A trend that has emerged during this lockdown period is these video collaborations of alumni of shows or casts. Can you talk about why you think that's happening and how that helped inform this video that we're about to take a look at?
Yeah, I mean, it's just super cool. Like, the video is just every person who's ever played a queen in any production of Six, including our, like, our friends from university who originated the roles, just, like, singing together and then bringing in the whole, like, queendom at the end. It's just, like, I don't know, I find it quite moving.
And careful viewers will see that you make several cameos in the video. Can you talk about your involvement?
My involvement, Michael.